Hi, what's good, guys? Welcome to my channel. And for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Joshua, and on this channel we talk about all things personal growth and self-improvement. Now, today the topic of interest is how can we remain positive during this COVID-19 period? So how can we keep our minds focused, strong, and centered when there seems to be chaos all around us? So I've got some ideas that I wanted to share. So if you got ideas of your own as well, please comment them down because it could help somebody out. So let us begin. So I want to start off by sharing my favorite quote in the world. And if you watch my channel, you know I say this all the time, but I think it's so important. And the quote is this, is that in life, nothing is inherently good or bad, but thinking that makes it so. So what does that quote actually mean? Right. So what that quote means is that everything that we experience is neither good or bad, right? The experiences we have are neutral, but it's more so just our perception of events or the meaning we assign to events or the meanings we label to events that determine whether or not we perceive something as positive or as negative, whether we feel empowered or disempowered. Because one of the biggest blocks to feeling positive is often the conception that we think that it's things outside of our control that determine the way that we feel. So we often think that, it's my manager, he's the one who's ruining my life, he makes me feel bad. Or my girlfriend, she makes me feel bad. Or my friends, they make me feel bad. And oftentimes when you're looking at life, it can often appear that way, but that's not the reality. The reality is that we are in control of the way that we feel. Our perception of events or the meanings we assign to events determine the way that we feel. Because it's crazy how you can have two groups of people who can experience exactly the same thing, and one group like want to end all suffering and are like, no more pain for other people, I'm gonna start up my own charity. And then you got other people who are like, I hate the world, and become serial killers, all from experience the same thing. And I give you an example. This could be a bit of an extreme one, but it illustrates the point really well. So those of you guys who know me, you know I love Oprah. Oprah is like one of my favorite people in the world. And Oprah had a tough upbringing, man. Tough upbringing. Like the people who were looking out for her, family members were raping her, continuously raping her. And then in her early teens, she became pregnant, and then she had a miscarriage. Right, that's a lot. But then eventually she overcame all of this, and then she has her own television network now, and she became the first female black billionaire. That's amazing. But consider that there have been other people who've experienced rape from family members continuously. There have been other people who've had miscarriages, and they've not always been able to turn that around. Some people have committed suicide from this kind of thing. Some people have been addicted to drugs from this kind of thing to deal with the pain, right? But what's the difference between Oprah and these other people? And the difference was the interpretation or the meaning she was able to take from these events. She was able to find an empowering meaning to overcome, right? She was able to label the event as something else, because it's through that we can put ourselves in a resourceful state to overcome, because without that, we'll never be able to overcome. So it's not things that make you feel a certain way, but it's your interpretation and the meaning you attach to it that determine the way that you feel. So how does this pertain to feeling positive during COVID-19? So this pertains to COVID-19 in the sense that it's important that we find an empowering meaning during this time of crisis. We must find something to hold on to. So how do we do that? We do that by directing our focus, because what we focus on determines what we feel. So you all know this. You know that if you focus on something positive, you're going to feel positive. If you focus on negative, you're going to feel negative. We know. But how does one focus themselves? How does that apply, right? What does that look like pragmatically? How does one focus themselves? And the way that you focus yourself is through the questions you habitually ask yourself. Now think about this. Like focus focuses on the idea of thinking, right? But what is thinking? What actually is thinking? Right? Thinking is the process of asking yourself a question and then answering it. That's all thinking is. You ask yourself a question and you answer it. So some of you guys who are listening to me right now, you're asking yourself a question of, is what Joshua is saying, is it true? Right? You're unconsciously asking yourself that question. And if you've asked that question, more than likely you've answered saying, yes, what Joshua is saying is true. It does make sense. Right? That determines how we feel, and that determines what we focus on. The questions we ask ourselves direct us into a state of what we focus on. And the crazy thing is this, is that through the questions we ask ourselves, we can get ourselves to feel good about things from the past, things in the future. We can get upset about things in the past, and we can even get upset about things that haven't even happened, right? We can make things up in our head. Let me give you an example. Right, hasn't there ever been a time where you've had a friend who you thought backstabbed you, right? Somebody came up to you and they told you, like, Jasmine, your friend, she stabbed you in the back. She said this about you. And then you heard it, and then you got worked up about it. You started asking yourself, because you're like, how could my friend Jasmine do this to me? I thought she was my friend. I thought she cared about me. Why would she do this to me? right? And when you're asking yourself these type of questions, your brain's busy answering. It's like, I will oblige an answer. I'll tell you why Jasmine snaked you. It's because she's a snake, right? Your brain's answering these questions, and then what's happening as well is you're starting to recall all these different events where you could have perceived her as being a snake. You're starting to distort some memories where you're like, I knew it. She's a snake. You get all worked up. You get mad. You go talk to Jasmine about why you're mad at her. You talk to her only to find out the whole thing is a miscommunication and she never did the thing that you were mad about. Right? Isn't that crazy? You got worked up about something that didn't even exist just through the questions you were habitually asking yourself. And it's the same thing when it comes to the way that we feel. The questions we habitually ask ourselves determine the way that we feel. So when a crisis occurs, one common question that many of us will ask ourselves is this: why is this happening to me? Right? How will I ever overcome this? You know what I'm saying? These type of questions are disempowering. The thing is this, like, the thing about your brain is this: your brain isn't designed to make you happy. It just answers the questions that are given. So if you ask disempowering questions, you're gonna get a disempowering answer. So for example, you're asking yourself, why am I so fat? Your brain will tell you it's because you're a slob and you're lazy. So yeah, that's not gonna make you feel good, right? Why does this always happen to me? It's because you got rotten luck. That's why. Your life isn't destined to be great, right? You're gonna get disempowering answers. So what we must do is we must ask ourselves new empowering questions. We can ask ourselves the question of what's good about COVID-19, right? And somebody may, in your initial response, be there's nothing good about COVID-19. But if you really, really search and seek, you can find something good in it. Now, what's good about COVID-19? One thing is good is that you've got more time to spend with your family. You've got time now to develop some of the talents that you always wanted to develop. You've got time to clean your room. You've got time to clean your house. What's good about it? I've been able to connect with some of my friends via Zoom. There's always something empowering to find, but it's just by you asking yourself these questions, and you must become aware of the questions you habitually ask yourselves, because these lead to the answers that you get, and the answers that you get will largely influence the way that you feel. The way that you feel will largely influence the actions that you take. So you need to put yourself in a resourceful emotional state, and you do that by asking empowering questions. Another group of questions you can ask yourself is questions that assume that you will overcome. So how will I overcome this? Exactly. What does that look like? Ask yourself these empowering questions. So that's the first thing. The questions you ask yourself will largely influence the way that you feel. The second thing to be more positive during this time is get yourself a gratitude journal, a gratitude and a brag book journal. So what is that? So a gratitude is trains you to focus on what you do have. So if you don't, get yourself a little notebook and write down the things that you're grateful for. So you can write down, I'm grateful that I've got a family. I'm grateful I got a roof over my head. I'm grateful I got food in the fridge. I'm grateful that I got friends who care about me. Doing this over and over again trains you to focus on what you do have, not what you don't have. Because you feel horrible when you feel horrible, envious, tired, discouraged when you focus on the things that you don't have, when you focus on the things that you've lost. But if you focus on the things that you have, you feel more fulfilled, and it puts you in a better and more resourceful emotional state. Now, along with the gratitude thing, is I want you guys to brag about yourself. So on the other side, so after you write the 10 things that you're grateful for daily, write down 10 things that you can brag about. So you can do this at the end of the day. And when I'm talking about bragging about, I'm talking about past victories that you've had, or victories that you've had through the day. So you can recall memories where you've overcome or you've done something that you didn't think you could do. Times where you had the courage to ask that girl out that you didn't think you could do. Times where you achieved something, you started your dream. Times where you've won. Times where you really, really stood out and overcome something. Because what you find is that if you study your life, you find that there's a pattern here whereby whenever you're faced with a challenge, you overcome it, you override it, right? And that's what the brag book does. You brag about yourself. And there's always going to be somebody who's like, I've got nothing to brag about, right? If you've got nothing to brag about, then what you can do is you can write down the small wins that you've accomplished today, starting today. Brag about yourself. And it could be the small things like, I woke up today and I made my bed. We can brag about that. I went and I cooked food for the family. That's something worth bragging about. Some people can't even do that, right? Brag about yourself, big yourself up, because start from victories. Because when you start collecting and becoming more aware of the small victories that you attain, it picks up, it builds momentum into other bigger areas or other things. So this is what you must do. Get yourself a gratitude book, get yourself a brag book, brag about yourself. You'll remain positive and in an empowered state, struggling to say, in an empowered state during that time. The third thing that I can do is you can control what you can control. So take charge. So in the things, so if like for example, if you are self-employed and you're like, oh, like maybe your finances have been dried up because of this time, one thing you can do is what else can I do? How else can I make money? What can I do? Well, maybe you could, if you're a personal trainer, you could write some programs that you could sell. You could do live workout videos. Take control of what you can control. Control the things that you can't control to get things to move in the direction that you want them to. And then after that, you leave it all to God, right? You can't control everything. Control what you can control, and then that's it. And if there's nothing that you feel that you can control, then the only thing you can control is your attitude, right? Your mindset to the thing, right? It goes back to question one, which is asking yourself more empowering questions, staying grateful. That's how we're going to remain positive throughout this time. The worst thing that we can do is start focusing on all the things that we've lost, because that's not going to bring them back and it's not going to make us feel good. So it's important that we do this. So we ask ourselves empowering questions, we stay grateful, so focus on the things that we still do have, whilst at the same time bragging about our past victories and bragging about the small wins during this time. And the third thing is control what we can't control. So if there's some actions that we can take, we do them. If not, then we just control our attitude and we go back to step one, which is ask ourselves more empowering questions and stay grateful. So that's the video of the day, guys. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have anything else to add, please put it in the comment section below. All right, you guys take care and we'll speak soon. Bye-bye.